Welcome back to Nevertheless, an author's journey. So, as we all know, life will life us, right? I had a whole plan, an idea for this week. I wanted to show some videos of some readers sharing how they received Nevertheless, or what they enjoyed about it, or what they thought about it. But I've decided to make a change. I want to dedicate this episode or this week's video to my godfather. His name is Elijah Thorne, and he recently passed away. And what I want to do is I want to talk about a father's love. And I go into briefly, I mentioned in Nevertheless the fact that I didn't know my dad. So to give a little bit of a backstory, which, is included in the book, I was born in North Carolina and my mom was a single mom. My father was not in my life. As a matter of fact, he didn't know if she had a girl or a boy. But she always told me about him. She told me his name. And so growing up, I just had this vision where I imagined this man, how he looked. She always said I looked like him. So I just figured a male version of me, right? So I kind of like created this fantasy of a father. And because of um, a lot of the struggles that we encounter that I lived through as a child, I just imagine that my life would have been different had my father been in my life. So fast forward to senior year of high school, and I applied for a scholarship offered by the Children's Defense Fund. And this particular scholarship was titled Beat the Odds. And just as the name describes, it was for high school students who overcame some tremendous challenges to still succeed academically. And with things that I lived through in high school, let's just say I definitely meet the qualifications for the scholarship. So I was awarded the scholarship. I got an opportunity to meet then President-elect Bill Clinton and, just all these accolades, and it was great. So now it's time to go off to school. But guess what? The scholarship didn't cover the full tuition for North Carolina A&T. So I still had some financial deficit, right? So Channel 4 decided to present my story again. And what they did was they shared it on the news, and the DC alumni chapter of A&T saw my story. So I'm not sure if they contacted the news agency or if they contacted the school to get my information, but needless to say, they reached out to me and we connected. So whenever they would come to the school, they would, connect with me, send me care packages. It was great because I didn't really have that family support while I was away at school. So it was needed and appreciated. So shout out to the DC, Maryland chapter of the Alumni Association for North Carolina A&T State University. Aggie Pride. But there was one couple in particular who went the extra mile. And so that was Marilyn and Elijah Thorne. They decided to take me on basically as like one of their own children. I ended up staying with them that summer because after my freshman year, I didn't have anywhere else to go. So I stayed with them. And from that moment on, I adopted them as my godparents, and they treated me as if I was one of their own children. And I will be eternally grateful. So anyway, I don't know, before I get emotional, I want to basically talk about a father's love because Elijah Thorne is the closest that I came to having a father growing up. Although I met him my young adult years, 18, 19, I can't imagine where I would be if it wasn't for him and his family. He offered me tremendous amount of support, all the long talks, even some of the, tough fatherly love, telling me the things that, I did wrong, but also giving me the space to make those mistakes and to still love me in spite of. So if you've been blessed with an opportunity to have a parent who loves you through thick and thin, unconditionally, I think it's important to take an opportunity to honor them because, in my opinion, that's an example. That's how the closest we can get in the natural to God's love for us. He, um, and that's what he exhibited for me. He exhibited for me God's love in the natural. And I can only say just a snippet, right? A snippet of God's love in the natural, because we know that God's love is ever encompassing. It's bigger than we could imagine. But I just want to say, I thank him for taking me on, for standing in the place for 30 years, over 30 years. So, um, yeah, but back to nevertheless. So in nevertheless, I speak to identity and not knowing who you are, me not knowing who I was, not knowing whose I was. And so in chapter 11, I particularly talk about going into the witness protection program. So again, if you haven't read the book, get the book, right? So, but in chapter 11, I talk about my first marriage, going into the witness protection program with the United States Marshal, and and basically what you have to do in order to, when you go into the program, is you surrender your identity. You surrender your name, your ID. They make sure you're not carrying any identification, your birth certificate, you give it to them, your social security card, you give it to them, your ID, driver's license, you have to hand it all over to them. It becomes the property of the United States Marshal. And so they give you a new name, a new identity, and you're required to learn and study and try to get used to answering to this new name. And wherever they send you, you have to study up on that city and some of this, because when people meet you and they say where you're from, and you got to make up where you're from, but you also have to have some kind of, conversation about where you're from so that it'll be authentic and believable. And so that, having to give up an identity that was already so um, unknown to me, because I didn't know my dad. I didn't know from where I'd come, except for from my mom. Right? Every day was a family reunion because she was my only family. No aunts, no uncles, no cousins. Yeah, it was just me and my mom. No sisters, no brothers. Okay, you get the point. Just me and my mom. And so to not know from where I come, speaking on the maternal side, my mom telling me that she didn't know from where she had come. She told me that she had been basically adopted, raised by someone who was not her mom. So, yeah, just imagine, wondering every person you pass by, could I be related to them? Could they be my brother? Could they be my sister? Could they be my aunt? Um, so to go into the program and give up an identity that I really wasn't that tied to, wasn't that big of a deal. But when my marriage ended, um, it was a toxic, abusive relationship. And so when it came time to come home and come back to that father who told me not to go, broken, ashamed, insecure, just at my lowest. Um, but he embraced me. He said, "You're home now, and we got you." I just want to say that even if you don't have someone in the natural, God is doing that for you. He's saying, "Come home. I got you." And his arms are open to receive you. So keep your head up. Know that it is the enemy's goal and objective to steal, kill, and destroy. But he wants to take your identity. He wants you to be so unsure about whose you are that you lose sight of your purpose and your goals. And I'm here to tell you that no matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter how many detours you've taken in life, God's love is everlasting because there's nothing better than that type of love. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. His love is everlasting and his arms are waiting to receive you. Because guess what? If you didn't know, you're blessed nevertheless. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video and the ones to come. I hope you'll stay around, come back, catch those, and let me know what you think. If you've read the book, did I do it justice? But so next week, hope to share some videos from some readers, and maybe you can, send me a video and I can shout you out next time. All right. Talk to you later.